Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Edwards. I'm the entrepreneurial lead. Behind me, I have our PI, Dr. Mark Brown, and our mentor, Mark Combs. And we flipped the STEM classroom so you don't have to. Going into our business model, I have some key value propositions that are highlighted in a green box, if you notice. And I pointed them directly to the color-coded customer segments that I've correlated them with from our interviews. And I want to kind of come back to this because I want to skip ahead to why I've associated those with those customer segments per our interviews we had yesterday. So yesterday we did a total of 8 interviews, and that consisted of a breakdown of 4 faculty, 2 students, 2 student interviews. One was with a group of 2, a director, and an outlier, which I will come back to at the end. Our initial hypothesis was that because we're looking at helping teachers transition into a more flipped classroom style, that in a collegiate atmosphere, that college campuses would have, be pretty much a hub for our customer segments, and it would be a good place to go. So that's essentially what we did. We went to the last couple days.
So real quick, so you had 8 interviews, how many were in person?
7.
That's an excellent job. Give these guys a round of applause. I know everybody's tired. I mean, I get it. I do. Good. Way to put the pressure before. Outstanding.
Thank you. So we went to these college campuses, and we had one person at each campus already arranged, and then we went early, walked halls, found people, students. I even found a nursing
Did you randomly
director.
grab somebody by the arm?
In the bathroom, I was.
Outstanding.
That's a women's tactic.
But I even ended up with the director of nursing at Marymount just because she happened to be in her office, and I followed her from the bathroom back to her office. But people were around, and they were willing to talk, and we got these interviews. So our hypothesis was pretty good as far as where our customer segments would be, and as far as being the ease to find them. And we essentially, our experiment was to ask them these open questions and see if our value propositions were lined up with these people. So we had a very interesting results, and I kind of have just a quick summation of them, which I'll elaborate on a little bit. So I talked to a few students and essentially asked them, what do you like about classrooms? What don't you like about classrooms? What would be, if you could create your ideal classroom, what would that look like? What would be your ideal learning situation? And they literally described a flipped classroom. Some had even been exposed to it.
Let me ask you this. Describe the flipped classroom, your flipped classroom or a flipped classroom?
A flipped classroom.
What were the critical features they were looking for?
They were looking for a visual
Let me change that. What were the key pains that they had with their existing flipped classroom, and what were they looking for in a new thing?
They've had exposure to a flipped classroom before that they had very positive response to and haven't had it since.
Was that,
in college.
let me ask you, who deployed that? What kind of flipped classroom?
The one where the lectures were before the class.
I know what a flipped classroom is. I'm saying,
who?
was it a solution that was deployed, or was it a private solution? Was it something that was homegrown internal to the institution?
You know, I didn't get into that. It seemed to be an individual instructor that ran their course in that manner. It didn't seem to be the institution-wide. These students were actually from other colleges at this college doing a conference. So they were just like, I once had a classroom way back when.
So they didn't really get into it.
Correct.
So I asked this question for a point. This is for all of you, right? And you guys are, as a bar, thank you everybody for honoring getting out and talking to people. I can't say that enough. I appreciate it. It gives us material to collectively work with. But these are the times you start thinking a little bit about the business side of this. Where's competition at? You know, I mean, oh, flip classroom. Oh, wait. And it's okay if it's a homegrown thing, because that's an insight. Because then you can dive in deeper. Oh, you did a flipped classroom yourself. Why did you do it that way? And those are the types of things it can lead to. So I want to tell you what to do. Don't leave nuggets on the table. And this is for everybody, right? I mean, and be creative in your thought about that.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
want to add to that too, context people. So who you talked with, who are they? Where are they from? What classroom was that in? Where is that school at? What's the culture of that school? May have a lot to say about how they're using a flipped classroom, how they define it. So get as much specificity and context from those interviews as possible.
Thank you. So when I went and talked to at Marymount, it turns out we ended up talking to the director of nursing and a faculty there, and they actually have in their department of nursing, they employ almost solely a flipped classroom style. However, so it's implemented throughout the department. However, they say one of the faculty members says that the students aren't particularly fond of it, but she does expect that since it's being introduced into kind of the middle school and grade school, that in a few kind of cycles.
It being the flipped classroom model?
Yes, the model.
Okay.
And I mentioned that because her kind of thing was the students resistant to it.
So I actually want to dive into this a little bit. So this is the director of nursing, correct?
No, this is faculty.
Because this is faculty.
Yes.
You said something about the director of nursing. I want to go back to that for a minute.
Yes.
This is at Marymount?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a teaching hospital? Or is it a nursing program?
It's more like a nursing program, was my understanding of it.
Might be interesting to sort of dig into that and where that lands exactly as you go forward.
Okay.
I was just curious if you didn't. So this is a point. You guys are, I mean, at 30 and 40 interviews, you sort of start figuring out, okay, we got a pretty good handle on general pain points. That doesn't mean you've cracked the nut yet. What we're trying to get you guys to get into is, all right, perhaps research hospitals that have patients need this because X or whatever. Those are the types of questions I want you all to creatively be thinking about it and testing as you go forward today. Keep going. I mean, this is good. I'm just wanted to point out a few things, please.
Absolutely. Well, when I talked to the actual director of nursing, the first thing she said is, I just asked her what she does and what she looks for. And she said, well, I look for video lectures to have for our flipped classes that I don't have to do, that's prepackaged and I can just purchase. And the ones that we have very little selection because we're a nursing school. It's kind of a niche kind of videos they're looking for that aren't provided. And she was like, and all I want is something I can just pick up, pay for, and it has everything I need. So she really focused on, I guess, the features, the things she was looking for, the things that would make these video presentations kind of customized to what they need it for and what they'd be willing to invest in. So she really kind of was feature focused.
Can I ask, did you ask about what they're actually doing when they meet face to face, like the in-classroom activity?
In classroom, they do simulations with either themselves or dolls because they're very kind of hands-on application based. So that's what they use their classroom time for mostly.
Okay, and so then the value for having the flipped part is
to know the content and what was going to happen in the simulations prior to the coming to the class and performing it, essentially.
And you said that you learned that the majority of them use this type of model.
Yes,
already.
She said the department employs a flipped where they need them to come to class prepared already, knowing what's going to take place once they get there.
Okay, and so now you're digging into, well, they need something so that they can do the in-class, and that something is videos? So the pain point is they need videos?
Well, the pre-recorded lectures would be the outside of class component, and our innovation would be the supplementary material that would provide both a text and the pre-recorded videos of lectures that could be packaged and give to someone to use as.
Hold on. So what I just heard there, you're going to provide customized lecture videos for your flipped classroom, right? So you're going to be a video production company?
No.
Have you talked to any of the folks that try and do flipped classroom from an enterprise standpoint?
Not yet.
You must.
Yes, we must.
Okay. I want to dive into this nursing bit a little bit. You sound like you got a lot of good information from them. And I mean, applaud you for finding her in the bathroom. That's awesome. A little creepy, but awesome. Anyway, but I do want to get into this a little bit. So do you feel that nursing or medical instruction is a particular segment you should be looking at? Or is it just a program thing?
I feel like it's a potential segment. We've still really been trying to both identify exactly what our MVP was and what our exact customer segment, target customer segments are. And we started out with this broad approach as far as it was like STEM classrooms. And then it was like, well, we approached either the faculty or the students. And then it's been kind of, every day our eyes are open to kind of a new way, but we also kind of want to hone it in. And I can't say we've reined in on something at the moment.
Okay, that was well played because you didn't walk into the trap. But at beyond, you guys are learning quick. That's good. But you might be onto something. I don't know that you are. One contact does not a fact make, right? But if that does indeed become something, I expect to see it reflected in the customer segments, and maybe that is director of nursing programs because that's a person, right? And that could be a very impactful drill down individual that you guys can start targeting in the future. Just wanted to point that out.
Well,
while I'm on this topic, did you ask how much students pay for tuition?
I did not ask how much students pay for tuition, but she
Don't
did
forget
say,
the money, people.
She did
We
say
talked
that.
about, I'm not picking on you. This is something that came up in office hours a little bit yesterday. I started alluding to this. As you guys go forth, money's in the equation somehow. Whether that's time or actual dollars or students or whatever, there is an intuition, you guys know better than I do, where those usually fall. Don't forget to ask those dollars. That's going to drive your scalability and sort of what you have to work with as we build into the other pieces of the canvas going in the future. So that's okay. Just want to, you also must do that in the future. But go ahead.
So to kind of, we've been reevaluating value proposition and this association with the customer segment. And essentially we looked at kind of the three groups of people categories, which was faculty, student, and like director, dean. And I kind of boiled down to the different impact that one value proposition can have on all these different segments. And
All right, let's stop for a second here. Let me look at this.
And while he's looking, did this come from your discovery?
yes,
So the students said that this would help them get better grades?
yes. And this is just like a kind of a really kind of boiled down, bare basics kind of thing to kind of look at all three value proposition to customer segment.
I like this in general that you're testing. Go back to your first slide, your business model canvas. So the value proposition's there, and I know we talked about this last night.
Yeah.
Those are not value propositions. What you had on that slide as pains that can be tested are.
That's what I was getting to.
Okay.
Okay, this is something for everybody, right? And I applaud you for doing it.
Thank you.
Reflect that, but
I know.
anyway.
That's why I breezed through this one because I wanted to get to where.
No, you're good. You're good. I know we talked. Go back to it. I just want to point that out for everybody.
Okay.
I have a question too about connecting your customer segment of students to the value proposition. When you're talking to students about the flipped classroom, are they specifically referencing to you their experiences in college or university flipped classrooms, or is this their K-12 experience?
It's collegiate.
Okay.
Let's move forward. This is good. So move forward. What else you got?
We were asked to look at the market, and like I said, essentially we were looking at the collegiate, so we were just.
What's the big pie? You got the big circle on me? Did you do the TAM? Total addressable market?
Yeah,
Is that on another slide?
no.
Okay, just walk through this then.
Okay. Well, essentially, we just, all collegiate institutions, 2 and 4 year, just is where we kind of went with it. And then I think, so we had that one,
Okay, that's not go ahead.
Yeah, no, just good. Anything in the Pier Comments?
Yeah, one thing that stands out from Phil Brooks were the students who said that the flipped classroom is ideal at the same school where the faculty did not give it a thumbs up. Are they at the same institution?
Okay. On this addressable market, I know you're taking your first stab. By next week, make sure it's actually a little bit more fleshed out when you have more time. Good job on interviews. Round of applause for our first victim. Thank you very much.
And go Rams.
Go, what? Ah.
Okay, this is Team 37. There you go. You can begin. Okay. All right, good morning. Again, we are BRIGHT, which is Behavioral Research Instruction through ePrime. Now, ePrime, one more time to clear it up, this is our third shot at it, is a 25, well, not quite, how old is ePrime? 20? About a 20-year-old existing product that already has an existing market. And our product is going to take is going to leverage what this ePrime product does, which is runs computerized experiments in classrooms, collects responses and analyzes that data, allowing you to do in-class experiments in the science classroom. So we're going to use that and pair it with an exceptional curricula developed by Dr. Webster to get students actually doing science in their research methods classroom in a fast and easy way with low faculty investment.
So before we get into this, the 13 interviews this week so far,
Yes.
outstanding, good. You know, we heard earlier, so that's awesome that you were force people to interview. That's great.
We're very forceful.
That's good. So you guys have been existing for a while. Before we get into the rest of this, I just taking a step back to reflect. Any surprise? What's the biggest surprise in the last 3 days you heard?
Well, for me, the biggest surprise in the last few days is that nobody in the educational community that we're targeting right now knows about our product, the existing product. Nobody knows ePrime. In this room either. A lot of you are educational specialists and you don't use this tool that really can help you. So this is the market we're trying to get into. So I think we actually have found a place where we can grow.
Okay.
So that's the biggest.
Lack of awareness is a key learning you found.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. All right. All right. So we've been continually changing going through an iterative process with our business model, just like everybody else. So I'm actually highlighting for you the first empty boxes. This is the first time in the past 3 days there's actually any space on my business model canvas because I deleted so much of it. We started narrowing the market down, and I know I could have just crossed it out with the lines, but it really, all I was seeing were red line things, and I couldn't see the things I wanted to leave behind. So we've been narrowing down our value propositions, making them specific, testable. We're really hearing from the customers what they want. Some of them are things that we didn't think they wanted, and some of them are things that we did. So one thing that we really hadn't thought about was that this came up yesterday through a few of the faculty interviews that I conducted. These are faculty at small colleges who don't have a lot of time, who really do want to get some science learning in their classrooms. They do want to have some experimentation, but the idea of learning any new technological program to make that happen makes them very anxious. So what we really have to do is flatten that learning curve for them and make it a seamless transition to adopt this part of the tool for them, or it's not going to happen. So we talked a little bit about what that was going to be. But really the main point for all of our faculty that we've talked to and the administrators in the departments that we've talked to, those other customer segments, is that we need to save the faculty time, both in their classroom, developing the materials to before they get to that classroom, and then in the adoption of the program itself. It has to...
So save them time, right? I mean, I see some of your stuff. Why is the time, I mean, I know why in theory, because time is precious, but why is the time the big driver?
Well, the time is a big driver for different reasons depending on the customer segment. So
Yes.
for one of our customers, one of the types of professors that we have is the already established or professor trying to get tenure. So that professor really needs to spend his or her time doing research because that's what will secure his or her job. So research is what they need to do, but teaching is an obligation they have to fulfill. So they don't want to spend a lot of time preparing the materials for their courses. They want their courses to be the light part of their day so they can focus on the more important part of their day as they
Which is
see.
getting tenure.
Which
So
is- which
their
is getting
pain,
tenure.
their pain point is what?
That they have limited resources and need to focus on tenure.
Well, their pain point is they want to, yeah, exactly what you said, right? So that could be a really interesting value prop, just explicitly.
Help you get to tenure faster? Really? I didn't think I could say that because they'd laugh at me.
Well, how would your customer
You have to
segment say
prove it.
that?
You have to prove it, but yeah,
Well, I think we're gonna,
that's a pain point.
we have some customers who, or we're gonna call them early adopters, who have agreed to do some testing as soon as we have a MVP. So we're going to ask them how much time it takes them to, develop the curriculum they're using now, and then ask them how much time it takes them to adopt ours and put it in the classroom.
So you guys are in a unique position. You have an MVP already that you can start monkeying around with, correct?
We're getting close. I think we have a shorter time. We have something that can go out. But
So
this-
I'm going to make a little statement here for a minute, and this is okay. So for those of you with existing products and services, we told you not to sell, leave the radioactive thing hidden somewhere. That's true. However, if the radioactive thing can let you test and give more insight, fine. Bring up the kryptonite, whatever. My point being is, I mean, in the canonical, what we will do is we'll say, the process should be learn, figure out pain points, develop an MVP, and then start the process over again with the MVP. So you guys do have that, and that's great. I'm real curious to see where this goes. Tell me about Jacqueline.
Jacqueline Spivey.
Yep.
Jacqueline is an atypical user. At least I thought she was an atypical user, but she's really opening my eyes to what I think is a larger market for us, which Jacqueline is an assistant professor at a small Christian college. She is the one teacher of this course, and she gets every research science student in the entire college. And she's in the middle of nowhere. And she really wants to do hands-on experiential learning with her students. She wants them to conduct experiments, but she really needs a tool that can come off the shelf. Now, they don't have a lot of money either.
I saw that.
So she said that they spend $25 for their textbook, and this would have to be available to them. So I did discuss it with her. She said $35 is probably the limit of what her students can pay for. So we moved forward with our model, assuming that that's what we have to sell this for. To actually let it take over the market. Those smaller colleges are really a big segment for us because once the time investment it takes for them to develop a product and get it in the classroom is immense given the limited resources that they have. So if we can get them to try it once and get them to love it because they will love it, that's our job to make sure they love it, then they'll keep it forever. So the nice part about curricula is once you get it in the classroom, they buy it over and over and over again, every semester for the rest of the time.
So you eloquently described why that was a great target customer for you. I don't see it on the canvas. Not explicitly.
Well, she's in the customer segment.
I'm not trying to be negative.
Right.
Because what you just said was, and in the interview I saw it, there's some good stuff there. If this is a core segment, meaning small colleges in the middle of nowhere with limited resource per student,
This is a good point, yeah.
then hone into that and throw it up there.
Okay.
And professors at small colleges that don't teach the only research methods course in the entire thing, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just want to point that out. All right, cool.
Just FYI for anybody who wants to connect with that segment, this was through the Society for Teaching of Psychology on Facebook, which I belong to, and I shamelessly beg people to get on Skype with me.
Outstanding.
And I got 3 that way, so.
Good.
Okay. So we've been making adjustments to this. We're defining our customer segments. We've learned that professors are our market, but it's only a subset of those professors. Those first-time professors who are teaching the class for the first time, those professors who really want to revamp their curricula. So we're getting more and more specific. It's a who, what, where, when, why, how, and under what special event are you actually going to do the work that it takes to change your curricula. So we've been working through those issues. So I actually did a new value proposition canvas for only one particular part of the segment because that's different, where the value propositions are going to connect to the pains and gains for them. So this is for the established professor. This is somebody who's already been in the classroom for a few years, but wants to revamp the course for a number of reasons. There are a number of reasons that happen. Sometimes it's administrative paradigm shift. Sometimes the professor has an intrinsic desire to be a better teacher, and I think that's the rarer case. Though they all do want to, there has to be some impetus to push them in that direction.
Can I ask, what's an administrative paradigm shift?
So let's say the administration says or becomes privy to a regulatory body like the APA, saying, the American Psychological Association, saying there are new standards that you have to meet in order to meet our accreditation. So if you want your program to continue to be accredited, you need to incorporate statistics into your courses.
So what's the frequency of the accreditation criteria changing?
They shift pretty frequently.
And what's the discipline?
This is psychology. So psychology is let's call it an emerging science that, well, it's an established science, but they're merging toward being more of a hard discipline. So they keep upping the bar for APA accreditation, and almost every college tries to be APA accredited. So there's that. There might just be a shift within the actual school itself for a variety of reasons, whether they're trying to attract new students. They might also be trying to add new programs or partnerships among the university. A lot of people are going for transdisciplinary, so they're trying to connect across programs. So this changes the standards as well.
And so how does your idea fit into all of that? That's a lot going on.
It is a lot going on. This is actually a very hard market to understand, which is becoming very, very clear. So actually, I think one of the ways in which it makes us aware, there are two things that need to happen here. One is we have to be aware of those changes by the common regulatory agency, which is APA, so we have to watch those very closely. Another one would be watching the AP version of the high school psychology course. There are standards for that as well, so we have to watch those very carefully and make sure that our curriculum stays in line with it. But the other is that we have to find key contact points at a sample of the universities that represent the entire demographic that we want to go for, and make sure that we contact them and find a way to stay aware of when those shifts are happening at their universities and departments. So if we catch wind of it at one or two places, we should know that it's happening across the board.
Does this mean that you're continuously developing your curricula to adapt to new standards?
Just like you would continuously develop software, yes, there would be updates on a probably yearly basis.
Okay.
Any concerns there with the time you're going to have to take and the time it's going to take for you to turn around a new version of the software each time? The costs involved?
There are always concerns and costs with that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely employee costs. It's something that our mentor is very good at dealing with and handling and making sure that it happens on a good time scale and a feasible, growable, sustainable time scale. Okay. So we only have 2.5 minutes. What we learned a lot of things we've already talked about though, but segmenting, we're getting into clearer, more distinct groups. I already mentioned our first target here around one would be first-time teachers and established teachers for different reasons at a variety of places, especially these smaller schools, larger schools. They have different ways in, different access points, if you will. So we're going to have to target differently and maybe come up, market the value propositions differently to those groups.
Let's go to the market size.
Sure. So the total available market is huge, so I actually didn't throw a number there because I'm not going to go for that total available market. It's all high schools that have AP courses in psychology. It's all colleges, it's all universities that offer any methods course, which is basically every college or university.
So actually, I was curious to see, and yeah, it's a big number, I got it. Here's my question. So I know you make psychology software. Can this be used anywhere else?
Yes, there are lots of other places that it can be used, and I think that we're definitely going to try to grow, maybe, but not at the MVP level.
No, I'm just curious.
Yes, there are definitely other places that can be used. So nursing faculty have to take research methods. We're actually not going to market it as a psychology tool. We're going to try to make it more of a social science tool in the beginning, so that if somebody wants to use an econ, they can.
So my point in asking that is, you guys know psychology markets well. It's obvious, fine. And social sciences probably pretty well too. Does econ, let's say econ, have the same update requirements and accreditation requirements as psychology does?
They don't. And what we're thinking of doing, so this is module-based curriculum, we're thinking of making one breakout module that could be easily adopted by any discipline that covers just the bare bones of the scientific method with a couple of canned experiments that can be
So why
conducted
did
in
you
the
think
class.
about that?
Because Sandra actually brought it back from customer discovery, that somebody would, that they would really like it for intro psych. Could you just give me this one module so that I don't have to teach that stuff
Does
that
that
I
change your
don't like?
business strategy?
It would definitely change our business strategy.
It's awesome.
It would
good.
actually increase our market share a lot. Now,
Wouldn't
that
it?
product would be a lot cheaper, but since it would be much lower development since it'll be just one part of the curricula.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Great job, guys. We have 4 seconds. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good job.
Team, as you're walking away too, take a look at the peer comments. Your peers have some ideas for partnerships.
Team 38. There you go. You're welcome.
Yep.
All right. Hi, I'm Kojo Shong, and behind me I have our PI, Dr. Raquel Perez, and our mentor, Dr. Ellen Thomas. And where Tape Microchips has just taken microtechnology design and fabrication to the classroom. And if you don't know, usually they're done in clean rooms, and we want to move it down, further down.
8 interviews. How many in person?
7 in person, 1 over the phone. Yeah.
All right, great job. Good job.
Thank you. So right now, this is the business models, and from what we did yesterday, we started to break down the value propositions. We're trying to get it more into what we're offering and what they can gain from it. And this one's actually not good. Here. This is a clear picture since
This is
LPC.
great. But, I mean, this is the best practice, pull out the 2 pieces. You guys have probably heard this yesterday, so.
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and we can even read it. It's awesome. All right.
Yeah. So basically, we started to break it down some. From before, it was just 3 value propositions, and we took parts of it and bringing it down into a clearer way. And we also added students as a customer segments, but just as a user aspect, since they overall don't really decide.
What do you mean by increases learning?
So by increases learning is so far what we found.
How do you quantify that, I guess?
I guess it would be more of, if quantification would be tests that teachers may run, or most likely would be tests and how they done previously, like in previous years, or if they haven't done that experiment, and whether they did that experiment, did the overall grade go up or did it go down?
Right. No, I mean, you're looking at a bar moving
Yeah.
among users, right?
Yes.
But why is that important?
It's important
I don't
because
care if students learn.
it's important
Actually, I
because
do, but
for the teachers themselves, like they want to teach for their students to make sure they learn, and I feel like they get a good feeling.
that's
out
their
of it.
motivation?
That's one motivation.
What's another motivation?
Another motivation is they might be making more money if more of their students passes and the school districts and their principals notice it and they move up,
Principals, why do the principals care?
because the principals talks to the superintendent, and the superintendent is the one who decides where the money goes.
That's right. All right, cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So for our value proposition canvas, we've updated it somewhat. And really, the main part is the most of the pains that they have, or some of the labs can be expensive, especially when it comes to the microtechnology, which is what we've
What's
come
the most
across.
expensive one you heard of?
For microtechnology, what? 10 million.
Outstanding.
apparently.
What do you $10 million.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Techshop for a minute.
All right.
So how was that? How was the interview there at the Techshop?
The Techshop was, I wasn't there personally, but we split it up. We split
Who
it.
went, actually, I want to stop for a minute. I will. Who went to the Techshop? How was that?
It was good. It was good in the sense that, like, can we have whatever you have because we don't have it, and whatever we can try to buy is too expensive?
So what was the Techshop? I know what it is, but you tell them.
It's a place that is like a shop that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are a member, you go there, and you can use any tool that they have.
Right.
From laser cutters to CNC machines, anything. And you could see from women.
Did you know they were there, or did you just walk by on the street?
I walked by and
Okay.
I bought a book and it's like, what do you do?
Good. Okay. Thank you for that. I wanted to bring this up for a point. So, I knew it was there. I was wondering if somebody was going to stumble on Techshop this week somehow. And it's great that you see it. And I want to ask if you guys debriefed, that uncover a potential totally new business opportunity for you guys? Thinking about that segment?
Yeah, it's like just, it'll be another avenue that we could distribute to.
What would that segment be?
Will be more of either a partner or a distributor.
No,
Distribution
maybe,
channel.
but my point is, what kind of segment would a group like the Techshop be?
The segments will be users who want to experiment on their own, but may not either be in school or have the equipment at home.
Private,
to do.
crazy tinkerer people.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. It might be. I mean, I'm making a joke, but I'm being serious. This might be a totally new avenue for you guys. Good getting out. Good seeing it. Make sure you incorporate and be creative about where you might go. Anyway, go ahead. Did you have something? No. Continue, please.
So for our interviews, we got 3 different groups of students, found a superintendent randomly.
You stalked that dude. I know you did.
No,
We talked about it last night.
I didn't stalk him. We were walking out and he was just standing there, so I just asked if he was a teacher. And it turned out he was a superintendent of a school district.
I'm going to embarrass you for a minute. He totally profiled a dude at the Smithsonian. He goes, he looks sort of like a teacher. I'm going to sort of swing by him a couple times. Anyway, continue.
You have to.
I thought it was great, dude. It's fine. Keep going. Let's keep going.
But yeah, like he provided a great insights, especially for the upper management and how the money is distributed downwards to the teachers.
Were you surprised by the whole money question coming up? Or how that was described to you, or did you know it already?
No, actually, I was kind of surprised because he was personally himself. He was just like, oh, if they want to do a hands-on lab, let me know. I'll write it off, give it to them. So he was like, he believes in hands-on experimentation. Yeah.
The belief thing.
He believed it. He says his words were, it locks in what they learn. So I was like, that's good. So we just got to hope that there's more superintendents like him around our area.
So does that mean he makes decisions about curriculum?
Now, for the curriculum, he makes sure the curriculum is up to date with the standards that the Missouri has and the national standards.
Who does make the decision?
For decisions, he leaves it to the teachers.
Individual teachers?
Yeah, the individual teachers make the curriculum, and he double checks to make sure that they're actually up to the standards before he allows it to
How
go
does
on.
how does your idea connect to standards?
So for our idea, it would depend on the kind of teacher that it is. If it's a technology or engineering teacher, it will go into more of their hands-on experimentation in their curriculum. So they'll be able to introduce their students to be able to design and fabricate their own technology devices.
Are schools having a hard time attracting students to those programs? Do you know?
That's not something that we looked into, but for the students who actually are in that program, they are very into it.
Okay. Would it be worth looking into whether or not they're having an influx of students, a healthy portion of their student population participating, or if
Yeah.
attraction to the program is an issue for them? And is there some value around what you're offering to helping them do that?
Yeah. We actually interviewed one of the middle school teacher in technology.
Okay, great.
I want to ask this question. What kind of school?
For the schools that are probably going to be the really early adopters, they're going to be the engineering and technology schools for high schools.
For public?
Public, private, it's either one.
I want to dive in a little bit. I have 2 points I want to make. I want to dive in a little bit more. So that seems a little broad as a catch-all. I'm not saying it's wrong yet, but have you talked about like charter and magnet and other distinctions that might be more, have we dove into those yet?
Haven't gotten into them yet. I have
Might
to
be
talk
something
to
to look
them.
into.
Yeah.
Second part is, you talked about standards. What specific standard are we worried about here?
Yeah.
What's going to drive adoption by a standard? I know it's going to vary by district and state, but do you have an inkling of one like standard, meaning a
One like
specific-
standard will be the next generation science standard.
Who puts that out?
Do you guys know off the top of your head? I don't know exactly off the top
So,
of my head.
I understand that. I'm raising this up for a point, right? So don't, you're doing great. Just calm down. I'm just trying to make a glass. Take a breath for a minute, man. It's fine. For a lot of you guys, when it's standard driven, and we all know there are standards, but when you get into the brass tacks of subsection A, B, whatever the hell it is for state whatever, you might need language inserted saying hands-on stuff is a requirement for these things. And if it's not there, money won't flow. That's possible, in some settings. So talking to people that set standards might be useful. And to as many people as you go, I mean, not only them, but digging into that might be important. This goes for a lot of you guys. And I think some people know that already. But just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
I think you know this intrinsically. I'm making this a moment for everybody, okay?
Yeah, I'll look more into details when I start.
Nah, it's all good, man. It's good. Let's keep moving. Good.
Yeah, for like the monies, they also set off a set amount of money from the state for teachers to advance themselves professionally, which will be useful if we want to hold workshops for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can be introduced and actually understand.
Who holds the workshops?
For the workshops,
You're talking about PD for teachers, right?
yeah,
Who holds those workshops?
the workshops will be possible that we could host it, or
So you would be a professional development firm?
not a firm. We'll just be they'll be come and maybe spend a week or two in the lab, and to experiment the process, and then
I mean, that's okay if you are. I'm not arguing with it. You can people make lots of money being professional development instructors.
yeah, or we could also just go down and travel with them too, which is another channel that we.
So okay. Great job for the first 3 days. I mean, we're starting a journey here, right? You see where I'm going with some of my questioning, though?
Yeah,
Be creative about your thoughts about how you could package all this together. And I'm not saying you aren't being creative. This is just for everybody. You guys are getting ready to leave. You're like, thank God we're done with those jerks and whatever. I know. But it's sort of a challenge for everybody. I mean, keep being creative through this. And we'll be annoying on Thursday next week, and we'll continue to be annoying along the way. But be creative as you go out. All right. Tina, please.
And just
Go
to
ahead.
follow on to that, so what you're uncovering is, maybe the opportunity is the curriculum. Maybe the opportunity is the hands-on components. Maybe the opportunity is the workshops and the training. Or maybe it's the whole package. And so what you're doing in your customer discovery is finding out which one of those really is the value. And maybe you have a multi-pronged product, who knows? So just keep that in mind as you're doing the discovery. So it's good that you're learning that they're saying those things, but what really is what's your fit for your innovation?
So basically, the two main segments that we're looking at for our customers will be the high school science teachers and high school engineering and technology teachers. And they both have different value propositions for them. For the high school teachers, they're more interested in just labs and the experiments have to connect to the curriculum, and that they will most likely have to be at the workshops to learn the technology. But for the engineering and technology teachers, they're already familiar with most of the cutting edge designs. So like they're already 3D printing in classes.
Okay, what I see here is you're basically it seems to me, you are saying high school science teachers are sort of okay, but we really want to focus on the engineering and technology teachers. Is that what you're telling me?
Basically, yes.
So you're saying you're trying to segment down the high school science teachers into that specific group?
Yes.
Now why?
Why? Because
the high school science teachers are generally stupid and you need to have the...
Nothing like that. It's because the engineering...
No offense to anybody, I'm wondering where this is going.
Engineering and technology teachers are already experimenting, and most of the curriculum's already hands-on as it is.
So they have a minimum technical competency. Is that what it is?
That's one aspect of it. And the other one is they are more likely to jump on in the beginning to do it.
The standards more closely match your product,
Yes.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if technical skill sets are a requirement for adoption, it needs to be reflected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important for you guys to know, right? So I'm not saying it is necessary. I'm just saying that's what I'm
the thing
sort of
is
seeing.
about it, it's not.
Okay.
There won't be a real technical aspect.
You're just saying because they're the tinker folks.
Yeah.
They like doing that stuff. Okay, fine.
Yeah, and for the standards.
Okay.
And this is just the total market for all the teachers. We have to move it down.
Team, also, if you're going to look at professional development, your peer, Joanne Russell, recommends that you consider that PD is handled differently from district to district.
Lindsay, hold on one second. Real quick,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I gotta make a point. Those are bodies, right?
Yes,
Not dollars.
not dollars.
I want dollars. Convert, even if it's a guess, convert, okay?
It will be a guess. It's going to be a guess, but
It's
that's
gonna be a
fine.
guess, that's fine. But just, I just wanted, for everybody, start putting dollar signs up there so you can start thinking about what that means for an entity. Just in some way. Thank you, guys. Good job. And you're doing teacher profiling all the time, man. That's messed up. Just giving me a hard time. It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our next one is Team 39.
Good morning, everyone. Mahendra Mandala here, the EL on the team. With me is Dr. Goldberg and Phil. We are Team 39 PRH. We are working on a design evaluation tool that can be utilized by peers or experts outside the schools to assist students on their project works. We had 6 interviews yesterday, and so far more than 13.
6 interviews yesterday? How many in person?
All of them.
Okay, good. Awesome. Continue.
So we made a few changes to our value propositions from what we learned yesterday in the class, made them a little more simpler, but I think we need to still work on them, and I'll continue working on them. We also were starting to look into the customer segments, and I'll talk a little bit more. Right now they're very broad, and we have been narrowing it down a little bit, so I'll talk about it a little bit more in the next few slides. This is just so that everyone can see what we're working on. But
Okay, what I heard there is you said these are still really broad, and you acknowledge that. Is that correct?
the customer segments, yes.
Okay. Do you have a slide you're going to show me about how you've segmented that down?
Yes, and it's in my market
Okay,
analysis.
let's keep going. Let's see.
Okay. We also looked at that little ad lib to write our own ad lib. So it's our design evaluation tool helps instructors in project-based learning courses who want to efficiently manage large classes by reducing time and effort in providing feedback and improving ways to identify at-risk students. So this was based on things we learned from the profile down there about the customer, the pains, jobs, and gains. We made a few changes over there over what we learned again yesterday, revised it, clarified a little more.
So just clarify, all of the interviews you did yesterday were university faculty?
Most of them, and one was a principal at the local school.
At what school?
Local school, Thomas Jefferson School.
Oh, okay, okay. And they said all of these things in your statement here?
The university faculty, I did not create a profile for the K-12 teacher the other customer segment that we are looking at, did not create a profile for them. This is
Okay.
only the university faculty who would be using our tool.
So what's a large project-based classroom?
That's
What
a
is
very
that?
good question, because we found
We don't know. What?
No, we found large to vary a lot more than we expected. So the first professor we spoke with at George Washington University mentioned that he has a large class coming up this fall. He doesn't know how to manage, and it was 50 students in the class.
50?
50. The second person we spoke with, or the next three faculty members we spoke with at UMBC, they mentioned their classes are 350 students, and they're thinking a large class is coming up next fall, which is 450. Then again, HCI and computer science faculty that we spoke with yesterday at UMBC said their large class is 25, and they said they still can't manage that large class. So
What's the management problem?
Yeah.
So the management problem is so these classes are creative classes with open-ended questions, and the management problem is providing adequate, timely feedback that can be used by every student. So a single instructor providing
Timely feedback from whom?
from the instructor or anyone who is an expert in the field, just providing that feedback on the projects that they're working on in a timely fashion was an issue.
Timely.
Timely when the students would receive it, when they will actually act on it before the end of the semester.
Give days, hours? That's a specific question. What's timely mean?
Timely means when the student submits the assignments, a couple of days within them.
Let me be more explicit. This is going to be important for you guys, right? In your interviews with the university professors who are being rated in some way based on the feedback they give on these things that impact their tenure, and there are all these other issues that are affiliated with it that I have not seen in the value propositions yet. Based on that, did any of them tell you, I really should be getting feedback in X days?
Yeah.
Did anybody tell you that?
Not no.
They just said timely.
Yeah, timely.
Okay.
How many days now are they taking to turn things around?
So the professors we spoke with yesterday mentioned that their team reviews were once a month because they had such a large group of students, 350, that by the time they reviewed and provided feedback, it was usually at a time where they're running through the conceptualization phase and they're going into building stage, and it's a little too late for them to jump into and make changes.
How does that impact their course?
That's a very good question. It impacts their course in a way that the projects are sometimes not completed to what they expect the projects to be completed at.
It's something they told you.
Yeah.
And so that was relating to my question. So why is feedback important? Why, let alone timely?
Yeah, isn't it the process?
It's the part of the design process is to receive feedback. Students are not yet at a position to create completely error-free projects from day one. So feedback is important for them to continue
Did they talk
on.
about the type of feedback? Does the nature of the feedback matter?
Yes. So the nature of the feedback and the type of feedback, we kind of did before the I-Core grant, we were doing some more research on talking to customers, and the nature of feedback was usually qualitative, formative feedback, something that was feedback that was constructive, very specific on what problems could be addressed or needs to be addressed, what problems need to be worked on. And
So I'm actually now interested in the mechanics of this class. So you have 450 students in a project-based class. They're all doing different projects in teams, individually?
So the 450 student class, they were all working on, at least the first class that we spoke about, 450, they were all working on the same project as teams of 4 to 5 students.
What was the project? Just give us a sense of scale.
The projects, they said, ranged from small subsystem design in a robotics submarine or anything of that sort, or it changed using some projects were based on the mentors that were working on them, so there would be AT. So if everyone was working on AT or everyone was working on a submarine system in first year engineering.
It sounds like industry involvement's happening in these things, huh? Is there? Does that matter?
Are they getting feedback from industry?
The mentors were assigned to them depending on the industry cycle of feedback. So one mentor was assigned from AT industry. They would only work on large projects that had once in a month reviews.
Well, wait.
Just to
Is this all in the same interview somehow? Like where it's like, because I'm hearing once a month is when feedback happens, but what I just heard was the industry folks who are sponsoring these design courses are giving feedback, and they are setting this, I only have time to give feedback once a month.
So this was 3 different interviews from 3 different professors, 2 of them co-instructing,
Yeah?
and the other one doing it sometimes co-instructing, but differently. They have different classes.
I don't think you're answering my question. And maybe I didn't ask it right. What I heard was the industry mentors in these design courses are setting the feedback loop. Is that true?
Yeah.
And you're going to solve that?
Yes, in a way. So we are going to provide a way.
Lockheed Martin's naval submarine commander guy who's running the project saying, I want to use slave student labor to be my cheapest alternative for fixing my subsystem, which doesn't make me feel good. But anyway, is saying, I will do this course with you, University of Maryland, but I only have time to give feedback once a month, and only 15 minutes each time, or something like that. Is that what's happening?
Probably I did not probe into how much time they spent on that once a month meeting.
All right. I'm going to lay a challenge out. I think you were onto an interesting nugget that may have gotten left on the table. If there's industry involvement, they're doing it for a reason, right? I mean, anytime, and a lot of design courses nowadays in universities, who here is in a university that has a design course that has industry involvement?
Blah, blah, blah.
And maybe you might want to talk to some of the industry people that sponsor those courses to figure out how that all works. And when you ask people, wouldn't it be good if you had hands-on? Do the sponsors force that feedback loop versus the professors? That's going to blow up your whole damn model. If that's true. Right. So I'm consulting a little bit here, but this is something for everybody in the room to think about. You know, one, follow the money. 2, industry can be an alternative to sort of figure out how can this impact and how can you solve their needs, because if they're involved in some way, they're doing it for a reason. It's not out of goodness. They're capitalistic pigs. They're doing it for something else. So anyway, continue, please.
Okay, I'll go to the next one. So we were testing all the hypotheses that we have been testing for the last few days. So that's the profile of people we spoke with. Again, I mentioned about the class sizes increasing. The bigger picture that we saw, that most of the professors we spoke with mentioned that identifying at-risk students was more important for them. More than providing feedback was finding out who needs that feedback, because not providing.
So what does at-risk mean?
So at-risk means students who do not know that they're going in the wrong direction on the project, on the project, and they do not come and meet the professors on time to get that feedback.
I encourage this team to go back through your value propositions and please add some specificity. So again, what is to be able to quickly identify at-risk students? What can you give us some baseline numbers from which we can compare where you're going? What does larger mean? What's a large class?
Okay.
25, 500? What's quickly, when it comes to at-risk, et cetera?
Yeah, to build on that for a moment, type of university.
Yeah.
Is it because George Washington's private, the tuition is too damn high that they? No offense, Jim. Sorry, just give me a hard time. Anyway, UT's not much better. I mean, we have our, cattle courses, and private institutions have their own you know, they're selling exclusivity. Right? So is it change based on that and the level of involvement? I mean, these are questions, I don't know, might be something to figure out. What do you mean on your canvas about organizers of design competitions?
So one of the segments that we had not previously thought of and we were trying to look into was organizers of online design competitions. So
Who is that?
So for example, we know of Resna, which is a assistive technology-based design competition. They organize an online
Or what?
assistive technology-based design competition. It has online submissions for students to submit their projects.
They do what you were saying you're going to do? No, I'm asking. You're not telling me on the slide. I'm saying, do they do what you do?
In terms of design evaluations?
Do they have a design evaluation part of their software? So they are competitors to you in a way.
So they don't necessarily use a software. They're just organizers of the design competition who don't use any particular software right now to run that evaluation. They do
Have you talked to them?
We spoke with one on Wednesday, and we got some more context to speak with more judges and reviewers involved in the design competition.
Okay. So I do want to, so the organizer, it's a firm or it's a person? It's a professional society, person, so director of something, design, whatever. Okay. Dig into that a little bit more. That could be very interesting. So that's cool that you guys found them, right? Curious to see where that leads. But it's still not it's a very loose person. Try and find a person on that. And this is something we've been telling everybody. Find a body at a particular institution that can then drive into things. But anyway, actually I want to applaud that. It was good to dig into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you actually have something underlined up there that we haven't talked about, and that is focus on team building and management. So that's another.
That's not part of our core value proposition at this point, but speaking with all of these, that's not yet, but
so is that relevant? So feedback. So they want feedback. Feedback about the team. Perhaps the feedback has to do with the team management or team process or team dynamic. So is there a relationship, maybe?
There is some relationship. A good team would work better, but I think what we found in this kind of peer assessment of each other, that was something these first year professors were focusing on a lot more, because what they did at the university.
First year professors?
So sorry, I mean they were teaching first year students, so freshmen and sophomore. What they were focusing on that much more than the quality of feedback that students would provide each other in terms of the.
Is your solution better for first and second year, or is it better for graduate and advanced students?
It's supposed to be good for everyone who's doing some kind of design work in a university.
Everything's always good for everybody.
In a university setting, all 4 years who are working on design.
So you're still sticking with everybody?
In the university, yes.
Come on.
Is it possible that, this keeps kind of lurking underneath it all? Do faculty just want an easy way to give feedback and get it done with?
Yes.
That's a pain, right? It is a pain to grade. Man, I hate it.
Yes.
Let's get this sucker done with.
Let me click buttons.
Let's go to that, work with that.
Okay. So yeah, the only things I underlined there was these were very interesting for us. That first, when the new students come in, they started using CATME, for example. They were trained once in the first year to peer assess each other, but they were not trained every year after that, because they would be using the same tool as they went from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So the interesting aspect for us was when they have to do peer evaluation of projects, not each other's performance, we may have to train them in the first year, and hopefully they continue using that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good job. $100 million.
$100 million.